Jobs. Give me jobs. Give me gifts to deliver. Preferably to Italy. That's not Italy. Nor is that. Nor is that. Neither of these. But they are at least closer. Well, now you're giving me all of them. Another option is that I just drive or take a freight market job to somewhere like Venice and then see what I can find. Oh, or I could manifest it into existence by mentioning the town that I want to go to. Apparently that works. So we'll take it. See, if I knew that I had that sort of power over video games, I would use it a lot more. I mean, I guess I do have that power when it comes to Power Wash Simulator all the time, because I'll be trying to figure out why it's not giving me the ding, and then it'll ding. So the power was in me all along.
Turn right.
Fairly sure it's been pretty stubborn when it comes to this game before though, so yeah, let's not bank on that. I'm hoping that once we actually get into Italy and deliver to one of the cities there, maybe things will open up a bit more. I'll be a bit disappointed if we still struggle. If anything, I was kind of hoping that if it's true that fewer people have that DLC and that's why those cities have been a bit neglected, I would have thought there'd be more available for me to take. Sadly, does not appear to be the case. I mean, if in doubt, I can also check the map and just like fast travel to a city in an area that hasn't been delivered to very much and just see what I can find. We might get lucky.
Keep right.
But if we can get there a bit less cheesily, then that would be my preference. Okay, so we can't go down that way, it seems. Well, we can, but it's longer.
Turn right. Turn right. We're here.
We are indeed.
Drop the load and go.
Drop the load and go. I do wish that they had some sort of filter or some sort of check within the voice navigation logic that it would be able to tell, am I picking up a delivery? Do I have a trailer attached? Five hours and 52. Yeah, this is a little bit longer delivery. We knew that this was the case. We knew that this would be a longer delivery. It's unfortunate, but it's necessary. Also, I did just notice that there is a photo thing over here, so we're gonna do that. It is nighttime. Maybe it won't be that good at night, but Photo Studio, unlike landmarks, does give you the ability to change time.
Never mind. I'll find a new route.
So we can do what we like with it.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
It's just too good an opportunity to pass up, realistically. So, let's just stop here, because that's considerate. Photo mode. Right, so which way are we meant to be looking? Ah. There's an egg palace. Let's go up for a bit. How is that the palace? Okay, well, photo settings. Day and time. Woomph. I think I've done something wrong. Unless I'm just meant to get a different look at it than from here. Am I meant to drive down there, perhaps? Oops. I didn't mean to do that. So I think I have to drive down there to get a proper look at it. Oh, is that the... Okay, I thought I was looking down the drive. No, is this just the palace right here? That's a palace? Seems I can go much further away from my truck than I thought that I could. How is this a palace? Are you serious? Well, apparently. There you go. Photo trophy captured. Belzeny Palace. Doesn't look very palatial, but if you say so. I mean, there's some gardens and stuff, so I guess. Oh well. Maybe it looks better from behind. Who knows? That'll do. Moving on. We've insulted someone's palace enough. There's no plaque or anything outside. There isn't like a fancy wall or anything. I bet it was actually tucked in behind or something for the best view of it. But never mind. If it's going to accept that as a photo, I'm going to submit that as a photo.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
Bouncy bounce.
Go straight.
Right, so this one will take about 20 minutes instead. A little bit of a longer delivery. It is a bit of ground to cover. Seems there's no town or city of significance in between here and Venice. But, okay.
Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right.
My lights don't seem to be going very far. So not as far as I expect, but on low. I shouldn't have to put high beams on just to see where I'm going. But I will do what I must.
At the roundabout, take the second exit. Exit now. Keep left.
See, I'm glad I've got my GPS on again now. Less likely to miss turnings.
Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.
And motorway. I guess that is the thing with this is, yeah, it's a longer journey, but it's pretty much motorway the whole way. And it's night, so we don't even get to enjoy it. That's a shame. I should have just slept. Well, we can at least go into scenic mode anyway. If for whatever reason we've got that kind of weird whining noise going on, sort of a high-pitched noise, I think it might just be to do with the volume levels, and it's just like the edge of a sound that's meant to have a bit more depth to it. Is this another photo opportunity up here, or a viewpoint? Because that's a very awkward place to go for it. I think we just come back and get it another time if it is. Viewpoint, okay. Another time. I mean, it's night time anyway. And it's a hell of a squiggly mess to get over there. We'll just have to come back going the other way at some point. I say that like I'm likely to actually get the time to do that, but hey, optimism. We're here spreading messages of hope. We'll be hopeful that we get back and are able to go around and discover all the viewpoints. Definitely a case of starting in the more recent DLC areas, because they seem to have filled those in much quicker. I hope that gives them a bit more of an incentive to redo places like the UK, which have been quite neglected for quite a long time, and do them up so that way when they add some viewpoints and such in, they're at the same sort of quality level that they expect to be comparable with the others. That might be what they're waiting for. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the new road areas that were introduced for Austria. There's a very, very fun looking road actually that goes off to the northwest from here. And it has a viewpoint and a photo thing on it. And I can see why. We're gonna have to do that sometime. That looks like a lot of fun. But we're almost back in Italy. And these are the roads that we have already driven down. That's the trippy tunnel lights. Woom, 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 woom. That's some sort of weird hypnotic kaleidoscope. Not sure this is chill EDM, but I'm kind of here for it. That's all good. Let's cut in front of the car. Which lane am I going to want for these ones? Outer lane again? Card and telepass. We don't want card. We go telepass. That's a wide tractor that dude's carrying. Oh, yeah, that's right. Telepass, but I still have to slow down. As long as you're doing less than 40, you're usually fine on beating the barrier on those. A smaller tractor on that one. Okay, the controller is not not responsive enough to dance to. Hey, I've got the mouse. That makes it really hard to drive. More approaching Nirvana. Acceptable.
Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right.
I want to know what that road is meant to connect to, and why it doesn't exist in the game. So it feels like that should go somewhere. Back to admiring the twinkling at least. Oh yes, see this one, telepass is now on the left instead of the right. Go figure. Yeah, I think I've done the song in Beat Saber, or a version of it. I think the instrumental version though. Christmas truck, indeed. It is pretty. I've done a good job on this one. We are delivering gifts. Unfortunately, I can't decorate my truck the same way, but delivering gifts to all the good boys and girls, and maybe some bad ones as well. And we have a donation link active for raising money for World Central Kitchen to provide meals for people in times of crisis. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to be looking domestically in the United States over the next week or so, because things a bit serious there at the moment with all the weather I've been having. It's times like this I'm glad that I live in a country where we don't get that sort of inclement weather, at least not as often. We don't get blizzards. The only blizzard I get is when I boot up World of Warcraft. During Jacksepticeye's event, so did I. Yeah, that was a fun stream. Didn't watch the whole thing live, but I have gone back and watched it up. Most of it since. I especially enjoyed the Giant Jenga with Jack Black. That was a favourite. But also the Sandwich Madness with Ego Raptor and Markiplier. They're good dudes. They're quite fun. Good chemistry. Much lols, very wow. It's quite an interesting course as well. It's not something I'd ever really thought of. You know, you hear a lot of, like, when there's crises and stuff that happen, you hear of, like, oh, aid is being given. It's like, how is it being given? Where is it being given? And a focused group like that to go in and just provide one of the most basic needs of, here's something to eat. Now, that's something I feel gets overlooked, potentially. Perhaps not overlooked, but more taken for granted. So it's great that someone had the idea of, you know what? Let's make sure this happens. Let others deal with other sorts of supplies and housing and everything, and we'll cover that.
Turn right. Keep right. At the roundabout, take the third exit.
Third exit? I think you mean turn left.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left. Here we are. Safe and sound.
Safe and sound. Where was the unloading, sorry? Red flag on your map. I'm gonna have to zoom in, am I? Oh! Of course it was right in front of me. Very calm Nav voice. Huh, you haven't heard him when he's angry. Also, it's just the volume's low. He yells at me sometimes. Not yells. More the, you know, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed sort of voice. It's actually the same voice actor who does Geralt in Witcher 3. So sometimes when he gets a bit peeved, like if you miss a turning or something, it's like, finding a new route. It's quite hilarious. Or finally, we're here. Sometimes. It's very entertaining. I love it. I have a love-hate relationship with my GPS. And we're done. 5 out of 15. We are a third of the way there. It's what I would call a good start. Now I'm hoping, fingers crossed, now that we're in Italy, we may be getting some more. Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. That's what we want. We want nice, short, quick deliveries between places. Yeah, when they released it, when they first released voice navigation as even a thing, they mentioned it was kind of a sort of Easter egg sort of thing, and I found out about it. It's the option of Doug Raspy in the English settings.
Turn left.
And yeah, I heard that it was the same thing. I actually did a stream at the time where I put on just like Witcher game soundtrack music and had him talking over it. Can't remember if I put it on YouTube or not. I hope I did. Before I started using Pretzel, the music app I'm using currently, I used to play a lot of game soundtrack instead because it's rare to get copyright struck with game music, because even if you're not playing that game, it's not like the algorithm can tell. So it's like, oh yeah, this is music from a game. I guess it's permissible then. And some of the old Witcher music is spectacular.
Turn right. Get ready to turn left.
Get ready to turn left.
Turn left.
Yeah, some of the game soundtrack music from the Witcher series is some of the best music I even have in my collection for just like chill. Mostly from the first one, interestingly. Like, there's a couple of really good ones from the third as well, but the first has 4 or 5 tracks that are just spectacular and just knock it out of the park. It's a shame that that game didn't age too well, but they're remastering it. So I'm looking forward to that. And I believe they are actually redoing some of it to kind of modernize the game slightly, because Witcher 1 plays rough. It's an old school RPG. You grind a lot to gain levels in order to proceed. And that doesn't wash these days.
Keep left.
That's why they completely rebalanced it for in Witcher 3 you get most of your experience from doing quests as opposed to killing things. So you don't have that grind. So yeah, the first one I'm looking forward to the remaster, because I'm hoping that then maybe I can convince my wife to play that. She's been loving The Witcher 3. I have warned her against playing the earlier ones because I don't think they would be enjoyable. But A, the music's spectacular, B, the story's alright. For the first one especially, it gets a little bit weird. But the first 3/4 is really good. And just the environments you're going through are really nice. Been meaning to play The Witcher 3 together with your hubby. I mean, it's not a co-op game. You're aware of that, I hope. But yeah, it's a great game to go through. Like, I mean, I have not played as much of it as what my wife has. It's one of the few games that she's played a lot more of than me. That and Civilization 5, I think. I started playing it, but I was getting a bit too depressed by everything that was going on in one of the starting regions, because, I mean, it's a grim setting, right? There's no getting away from that. And at the time, it was a little bit of a grim time in what we were going through, so not the greatest timing.
Keep right.
It's also a bit of an awkward game to stream, because
Exit right.
there's a lot of kind of just doing not a lot, I guess you could say. Not a lot per se, but he says driving a truck. But it's like, I'll be concentrating, right? So I can't talk more. I was finding, I tried streaming some of it ages ago, but then I was finding that I was paying far too much attention to the game and could not pay attention to other things. So, not the greatest experience. I mean, it is a single player game, and it's a cinematic game. It's the sort of game you want to immerse yourself in. And not be too distracted by other things. Unfortunately, that means that it's the sort of game that I find hard to find time to play. Because I usually have a lot of other things to have to pay attention to. Now that they've done the remaster of Witcher 3 as well, like it's had its HD refresh essentially, so it's got all greater textures and however many dozen more gigs of download size, now is the perfect time to play it. That's for damn sure. I just hope that the few mods that I had for it still work. I know they've incorporated a lot of them, which will be interesting, because they also incorporated some like the combat mods that I intentionally didn't download. So it'll be interesting to see how it feels. It'll be almost like playing a new game again, I think. Maybe it's just as well I didn't do all that much in it. We are going to stop for rest. Yes, because otherwise I'm going to run out of time before I actually make the delivery. It may look like I have enough time, but it takes time to actually drop the load at the end. Stopping. That's the wrong button. Experience the game story together, like playing in turns. I used to do that with my brother back in the day, when we both lived at home. That's how we played through Fallout 2. Good times. Can recommend. Yeah, it's quite fun doing things like that. You just kind of take turns. That way, you know, you need to get up, take a break, go grab something to eat or whatever. The other person can just tag in, basically, and yeah, and keep on going. They can go get snacks. Yeah, it's a fun way to play it. The only downside is, as I say, with something like The Witcher 3, it is a bit of a cinematic game sometimes, so you do kind of want to be in the zone. But as long as you've got a, I would just say that as long as you've got a good sound system, or you can like be sitting there both with headphones on or something. You sit and watch your brother play basically anything? Yeah. That was what we did back in the day. We only had one computer. That's what you did. So we'd take turns playing SimCity, Need for Speed. That's when I started playing the very first of these sorts of truck driving games. It was hard truck back in the day, and it was arcade style truck racing with trailers.
Keep right.
And it was ludicrous, but it was fun. And we borrowed it from the library back when that was a thing.
Right.
And we took turns playing it. Then there was a sequel, which was significantly better. And then they started doing actual truck simulator, like it was 18 Wheels of Steel back in the day. And that was a much better experience. We enjoyed that a lot more. Like, the arcade racing was fun. Ooh, nailed it. The arcade racing was fun, but we loved simulation games like SimCity was one we played a lot. Ports of Call was one we played a lot, where it was kind of like this, but with ships. You'd just send ships to different locations around the world, and when it got to the port, you could choose the option to manually dock, and you got a bonus if you did. Or you didn't have to pay the pilot, basically. So that was interesting. That was a bit of fun. I don't know if there's a newer version of that game, or if anyone carried on the idea of it. Basically, shipping simulator. Yeah, we would then take turns playing Fallout 2 and progress a little bit, and like, there's certain points that you get to that you have to kind of problem solve and work your way through, and you know, figure out what you have to do next. And yeah, just having someone else to be there is a bit of a wingman and kind of different perspective on things. I mean, any person watching a Let's Play yelling at their YouTuber of choice for missing details that are so obvious on screen can attest that sometimes when you're not actually playing the game, it's easier to see what you have to do. When you're actually in the zone and playing it and are immersed in it, sometimes it's easy to miss details.
Go straight. Turn right.
I mean, you know, last delivery I was staring directly at where I needed to go and completely missed it. So, you know. Bologna.
At the roundabout, take the first exit. Exit now. Go straight.
I like that I've updated things, I think, to have more like advertisements that are in the local language and such. Really gives it a bit more of a living city feel.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
Sometimes with those corners, I just hope for the best.
Turn right. Finally, we're here.
There we go. Finally, we're here, he says. Chill, dude. Don't know whether it would be better to go left or right here, but I feel I'm supposed to go right. Being a right-hand drive kind of place. Right, to the corner. Now, which is the one that I'm meant to back it into? I think it's the other side of that trailer. I don't think it's that one at all. I think it might be between those two trailers. And that's going to be a tricky angle. Yes, the reflectors are there. That is indeed where I'm supposed to go. Right, let's just use our mirrors now. Straighten up. And back we go. Have I ever driven a truck in real life? No. I do not even have my proper driving license for a car. I have been in control of a car a total of, I think, 3 times. It is not something that brings me joy in real life. It brings me far too much anxiety. 6 out of 15. I'm sure I'd be fine with enough practice. It's not something I have prioritized. It is definitely not something I particularly seek to do. I imagine at some point in the next couple of years I will pursue that a bit more. Nothing else for the sake of family, obligations, but see, all of these cities directly around where I am, and not a metaphorical drop to drink. I mean, we can go to Milan. It's not too far away. I'd really prefer to go... Maybe it's because I'm so far out of town. Maybe I actually need to be closer in. I do wonder about that stuff, because Exomar appears to be the only place that I'm getting deliveries from. So... are there any that go... No, none that go locally. I wonder, how far away am I from a services? Can I, like, walk to services? Oh, no. See, this is annoying, because, yeah, there is Exomar, and that's it. All the others are over here, and I think that the circle that it has is further away. So, what we're going to do is have a quick racing section and get a little bit closer.
Let's do this.
Drove occasionally for a year, did not bring joy, never went to the final part of driving, never got a proper license. Yeah, exactly. I have my learner's license after sitting the theory test. I know the road code. Probably better than a lot of people who do drive, judging by the behavior of people on the roads.
Turn left.
But have not pursued it to actually taking a practical test.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
And yeah, trucks. I have the only trucks I've been in, I think, are tow trucks. When we've had car issues. When we've had the car break down and I've had a ride along in a truck. And even then, I think I've ridden along in an ambulance more often than I've ridden along in a truck. Topical. Ambulance in front of me. Which is also not fun.
At the roundabout, take the third exit.
Mainly because you have to sit in the back, or usually have to sit in the back, and then you have to sit sideways, and I get car sick. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a truck like this.
Right.
Well, when it's been moving. As a kid, you know, you go and you have fun getting up into a truck cab. But never once it's moving. That would be a fun experience, doing like a ride along. There is a YouTube channel that I came across where it is a guy who's based out of Scandinavia, basically doing this, driving trucks with like a dash cam, or I think it's like an over-the-shoulder cam. So you get kind of the whole cab perspective. It's cool. It's scary, some of the roads that they have to drive on over there. The Scandinavia DLC in this has nothing on the real thing, that's for sure. Got to ride in a moving truck when you moved? Yeah, last time we moved, before moving to this house, when we moved to the house prior, we did it kind of ourselves. And it was just like a small box truck. It wasn't a big truck like this. It was just a box truck. And my dad drove it and I was passenger. Yeah. Last time we moved, we paid someone to do it because it was easier. We had more stuff. Okay, gifts. Please. I mean, Rome at least hasn't fulfilled its requirement yet. Verona! Good song. Better delivery.
What are we waiting for?
Yeah, especially since last time, like, there was a gap between when we moved out, we didn't have a house to go to yet. We spent about 3.5 months, 4 months in an apartment. My wife's parents owned an apartment in the city, and it just happened to come up vacant at the right time, so they let us take that at a kind of reduced rate, which is nice of them. That was extremely stressful, but it did work out. And then we were looking for a place, so the moving company that we contracted also did storage. So they pulled everything out of our last house. We kept some boxes. It was a furnished apartment, so we didn't need much. It was just like personal effects, computers, obviously. Things like that. And then it sat in a container for, yeah, 4 months or whatever. And then we bought this place, moved what we had from the apartment in, and then got them to drop off the container and bring everything inside.
Turn left.
So, yeah, specialist service for that. There's quite a few companies that offer that sort of thing.
Your destination. Your route guidance is now finished.
Which one? There should be like a little mark underneath the one that I want, but I think it's the one next to the cars. Oh yeah, I can see the mark just through the tarmac.
Let's
cool.
get this job done. Turn right.
Relief to get everything in place and proper home? Yeah. Definitely. I mean, the apartment did have some advantages. So we sold our last place early 2020. It was just before lockdowns and stuff started to become a thing. No, actually, so it was between lockdowns. It was the whole Hobbit situation of, we've had first lockdown, how about second lockdown? No, it was after the first one, that's right. We managed to sell up and everything, and then went to the apartment. And then we had another lockdown while we were in the apartment, which was really annoying. But I was working in the city at the time, so I was 20 minutes walk or something from work instead of a 2-hour commute. So there was that. You know, silver linings. That was useful in itself. But then we ended up working from home mostly because of lockdowns, so it didn't matter. I was just trying to work from a common, like, open plan apartment room. And then we were having to travel quite a bit to look at new places because we're, you know, looking to buy out of town because, funnily enough, we couldn't afford a place in the city. We were priced out of the suburb we were living in and had to look even further afield. It was also only about 10-15 minutes walk from the central hospital and the children's hospital, which was extremely useful when our daughter started developing seizures. So that was also a silver lining. That's the big downside of where we are now. We've got a much bigger place. It's definitely much a nicer place to live, but it's a long way from the hospital. Takes me over 2 hours to get in there. So when they're in there, like now, yeah, it's not just a quick and easy visit, that's for sure. But overall, I mean, this place is twice as large as the place that we were living in for like 10 or so years before this, so yeah, a lot more room to move. And then I got a new job late last year and started working from home full time, so I have no commute anymore, so that's even better. Home office, that's the way to go, the software anyway. I did think when we moved and I got like a dedicated gaming room essentially, I mean, home office, my work laptop is just to my left. My desk is, I kind of got a smaller desk than I should have to be able to share them, but, you know. But I no longer stream from the living room, so that's a start. I did think that I would potentially get myself like a steering wheel for these games, but ultimately decided that it would be too much like bulk, and I kind of like using the controller because it's got more buttons. Casually, I just find it a much better experience. I mean, especially given the fact that I don't drive in real life, realism isn't really something I'm looking for. Going 90 feels so slow, so I'm limited to 90 k's an hour when I'm taking these external contracts, like these gifts for the community event. Feels so slow on a road like this. Everyone else is zooming past me at like 130. I could go 160 if I was allowed. But then apparently 80 is the speed limit for trucks anyway, so a bit rude. Also, it's daytime, so I should really be putting scenic mode on. Even though it does mean that I have to concentrate a lot more when I come to doing the corners.
Keep right. Keep right.
I love downward stretches like that, because then I can speed. Got up to 95. Is the roads and scenery accurate to real life? It's indicative.
Keep right.
It's a 1 to 20 scale across most of the landscape. Like for the larger distances between cities. Once you're within a city, when you're like between blocks and driving around to get to the depots, then it's more of a 1 to 3 scale is what it's meant to be. So in terms of the time scale, especially when you're out on the open road, what is it? Trying to do the maths in my head again, so it's left me for now. It's 1 hour in the game time, I believe, it's 3 minutes in real time. So when a load says that it's got 1 hour remaining, it'll take you 3 minutes to drive that distance, assuming it's all open road. So yeah, the scale means that things are not perfectly accurate, of course, but they make quite significant efforts to make them, say, indicative is the best term for it. Certain landmarks will be in the right places. Certain layouts will be true to the intersections between motorways will be as accurate as they can feasibly get them. The motorways that you take are numbered accurately. Like there'll be the motorway roads and the A roads and such. Or like over in this, for American Truck Simulator, the interstates are in the right place, and the interchanges between different interstates will be as you would expect them. They'll be modeled on real life. So yeah, pick the best scenery they want to include. Yeah, essentially, like they try and capture the essence of a region. So when you're traveling between different countries, you definitely get a sense that, you know, things change. It definitely feels like a different place. Now, there's a lot of location scouting goes into it whenever they do a new DLC. Like in American Truck Simulator, they recently released Texas. So that was a mammoth undertaking. It's about as big as any of the DLCs in Euro Truck Simulator. So it took them a lot of location scouting. But yeah, so you've got like the A4, which is also the E64, and then E70, and then that intersects with the A45 and the A22. So this squiggly mass here should represent the intersection in real life. Now, the older parts of the map, when the game first launched, it was the UK, the top of France, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. Czech Republic, I think, as well. The older areas are still a bit rough. They've been redoing them. You can see all this unexplored area here. I have been there before, but they've redone all the intersections to make them more accurate to real life. So they've been making conscious efforts, like Lille, you can see, has been redone. Calais has been redone. So they've been steadily going through and trying to update it more. The UK is probably the most neglected place. Yeah, a lot of the cities just look like this. They're just that sort of loose template where everything is all in the same place along about 5 blocks or so. Even London, like you look at London compared to Paris, which is all spread out. And I believe, oh no, Berlin they haven't redone yet. Berlin will be a big job to have to redo. But yeah, they've been putting in solid efforts to try and make it a pretty close experience. I was watching another streamer play this back in a couple of weeks ago, and he was doing American Truck Simulator, and he was driving through a particular place, and someone in chat was like, "Oh my god, is this such and such?" They recognized it from the game as being a place near where they grew up. So yeah, people can tell, and that's cool. Have you been trucking in Finland? I have. Finland, just the southern part of Finland, you know, where 90% of the population live, is in the game. So I have been up there. All of that is explored. There's a speed run that goes from Tampere in Finland all the way down to Catania, because at the time that was the furthest distance between the 2 points when those DLCs came out. I don't want to go back to Bologna. I would prefer to head further down into Florence. So let's do that. Yeah, Finland was part of the Baltic States.
Let's go.
DLC, Beyond the Baltic Sea DLC. So Finland, Estonia, Latvia, is it Kaliningrad?
Turn right.
Small Russian exclave,
Get
St.
ready to
Petersburg.
turn right.
They were all on that.
Turn right.
Not my most favourite DLC, but not my least
Get
either.
ready to turn right.
Pretty nice.
Turn right.
Not that I really have favourites, but I think Black Sea is probably my
Turn
overall
right.
favourite. But it's up there with the Spain and
is where it
Portugal,
ends.
the Iberia DLC. The most recent one. Italia is good, but so much of it is just motorway driving. The best parts of Italy for driving is either up the north or the islands.
We've got the contract. Now go.
You'll have to excuse me, it is 20 to midnight here. Back the way we came.
Turn left.
Yeah, I probably could have gone up towards like Finland and stuff to see if I could get deliveries up there, because it is a little bit more exciting scenery, but
Never mind.
it's a long way from where I started off today, because after they do significant game updates, you generally get set back to wherever your headquarters is. So that's where you base yourself and your truck as part of the garage system. And mine is in Prague, in Czech Republic. And so I was set back there. So I could have gone north, but the first job I got took me south, so I just kept going, and now I'm in Italy. So that's often how these sorts of streams go. I just go a direction and just keep going. And in this case, until I hit 15 jobs. 15 gift deliveries. 12:40 in the afternoon there? Yeah. Time zones be crazy. It's always a nightmare in terms of when to stream. It's hard enough getting any sort of schedule going as it is, or any sort of audience going as it is. on Twitch, but when you're based on the other side of the world than most people, yeah. Because I used to stream this sort of time, like nighttime, a lot more commonly. So you get some people who will be over in Europe, and they'll just be waking up, and maybe they feel like chucking a stream on. But more often than not, it'll actually be that, you know, people have things to do, especially on weekends. So people will be busy.
Keep right.
So thank you for coming along. I'm glad that it piqued your interest. Otherwise, my usual streaming hours tend to be my morning on weekends, which means it'll be late night, Europe time. So depending on how degen your hours are that you keep, it'll either be ideal, but it might be when you're wanting to do like gaming yourself, or it'll be bedtime. And it's even more complicated when it comes to comparing to the United States, because there's about 4 different time zones to contend with. But I think generally like mid-afternoon here is evening over there the day prior. So it's like forward a few hours, but back a day. So at the moment, I'm fairly sure it's like the early hours of the morning, Christmas morning in the States at the moment. So not a great time for an American audience to turn up, that's for damn sure. And my normal streaming hours is early morning, I guess. It would be like, if it's 9 or so here, it'll be about lunchtime, I guess. American time. Basically, if I'm streaming in the morning on a weekend, for me, then it'll be, yeah, about the same time as it is now for you. So I kind of do the morning or the lunchtime show, I guess. If this was a radio segment. Christmas Eve is when we have all the scheduled celebrating. Today's just chilling, enjoying presents. Yeah. I know, a lot of cultures do that instead. I kind of like that. To an extent. But then also, I also kind of prefer doing stuff earlier in the day when it comes to things that involve other people, because I quite like having my nights to myself. So, swings and roundabouts. Because I mean, dinner's all nice to do with family, you know, you do dinner and presents and stuff, but then it starts getting late very quickly, and then you all just want to go to bed. Whereas if you do stuff earlier in the morning on Christmas Day, is normally what you do here, then you've got the whole afternoon to then play with your new toys or head out and do stuff. I mean, bearing in mind it's summer here, so going out and doing stuff is a bit more of a feasible option than when it's in the middle of winter. So that also plays into it a bit. We also got chocolates. Nice. I, these days, prefer to buy my own entertainments anyway. So, I prefer getting just consumables or gift cards or something like that. Like, got a grocery gift card so I can get myself some nice beer or something. And then just general store gift cards so I can get myself whatever, maybe some food, maybe some chocolates, maybe some treats, but whatever I like really. And then from my parents it's usually a 6-pack of Guinness and some chocolate. I'm good with that. It's something I would not normally get myself, so it's a treat. Otherwise, games, I have a wish list. things go on special, I buy them. Pointless someone else buying them for me. Books, I don't read anymore. I used to. Prolific reader. Ton of books on the bookshelf. I'm happy to reread books that I already enjoy. I'll reread my favourites. The X-Wing series and the Belgariad and Mallory until the cows come home. But my eyes get too tired these days when I'm working.
Let's find a new route.
Because I'm reading all day. Because I do coding. When we first got our last house and I had that big commute on the train, I thought, I'll be able to read some books on the train. Yeah, nah. I'd have a smashing headache by mid-afternoon because my eyes would just be too tired and too sore. I mean, it didn't help that I was knackered because I had to get up at like 5:30 to get to the office on time. But yeah, it all compounds. But it's the sort of thing that then when I'm off work, I should actually put more time into sitting down and enjoying a book again. But often I'll sit down and play a game instead, which is kind of the same thing.
Keep right, and then exit right.
It's easier to play games generally though because
Exit
the
right.
images are presented for you.
Go straight.
And interpreting pictures on a screen is a lot less concentration intensive than reading words. So it's a lot, yeah, the crossover isn't there the same as, yeah, the same sort of eye fatigue. Like you're not kind of concentrating and trying to read, you're just kind of letting your brain absorb the pictures. Going out for a walk with your mum, happy trucking. Enjoy your walk. Hope you have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming along. Always a pleasure. Your family gets back home soon? Yeah, same. We're hoping by New Year's. It's just one of those things. It's just,
Exit right.
yeah. Recovery takes as long as it takes.
Exit right. Get ready to turn left.
And this might be the last delivery for tonight anyway, to be honest, because it's late. I'm tired. We have 3 weeks further to finish this. I can finish it off in the morning. Probably a better idea.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right. Go straight, then turn left. Turn left. Keep right. At the
That's almost zigzags.
Yeah. Exit
Bollocks. Didn't quite notice them in time.
turn left.
No damage on the trailer though, that's the main thing. Even winding our way through the back streets to get here.
You have arrived at your destination. Your route guidance is now finished.
Do they want it that way? Or will they show me a place for my trailer? It's between the trailers, isn't it? No, nicked it. That's a shame. Squeak. Squeaked. Ah. I did it too close. I thought I was already inside it and thought that I was going too far the other direction, but no. Didn't quite get the right angle. Yeah, it's an easy straighten up, at least. Perfect. Excellent, in fact. 8 from 15. Halfway there. You know what? That's a good start. And with the lines of reflection being like a neon thing. Yeah, neon themed. I think we switch to the synthwave soundtrack tomorrow. We're going to pick this up another time. Hopefully, well, tomorrow still, by 10 minutes. Boxing Day. We'll do a Boxing Day sale, how's that? We'll deliver those gifts. You can't always get them on Christmas, right? Sometimes they arrive a little bit late. Thank you very much for watching. And Merry Christmas. And we'll see you next time.